Cars. They're so integrated into our lives that we barely even notice them anymore. We use them to get to work, to school, to the grocery store. There are over 1.4 billion of them on our planet. But have you ever stopped to think, what if they were never invented? What would our world look like today? Well, buckle up, or maybe don't, because we're about to take a journey into a world without cars. Let's start with your daily life. That morning commute? Forget about sitting in traffic. Instead, you'd be walking, riding a bicycle, or maybe even hopping on a horse if you lived a bit further out. The concept of suburbs, those sprawling residential areas miles from city centers, probably wouldn't exist. Why? Because without a convenient way to travel long distances every day, most people would need to live much, much closer to where they work. Imagine a world where your daily commute is a pleasant 15-minute walk through your neighborhood. Think about the small conveniences you'd lose. No more grabbing a quick coffee from a drive-thru on your way to the office. No more massive shopping malls with acres of parking lots. The entire rhythm of daily errands would be different, centered around local shops you could easily reach on foot. And forget about the classic family road trip. Vacations would be a whole different kind of adventure, likely relying on an extensive network of trains and ships. There would be no traffic jams, no road rage, no frantic search for a parking spot. Life would move at a slower, more deliberate pace. So how would this change our cities? Drastically. Modern cities are designed for cars. We have multi-lane highways cutting through neighborhoods, massive interchanges, and countless streets dedicated to moving and storing vehicles. In a world without cars, cities would be built for people. Think of walkable city centers, wide-open public squares, and green spaces where parking lots used to be. The primary modes of transportation would be walking, cycling, and highly efficient public transit like trams and trains. The environmental impact would be staggering. The air in our cities would be dramatically cleaner. Imagine standing in the middle of New York or London and breathing fresh, crisp air, free from the smog of exhaust fumes. The constant hum of traffic would be replaced by the sounds of people talking, children playing, and the gentle ding of a tram bell. Our global carbon emissions would plummet, potentially averting the worst effects of climate change. Life would be quieter, healthier, and greener. But it's not all a utopian paradise. Life in rural areas would become incredibly challenging. Without cars, communities far from major train lines would be isolated. Transporting goods, accessing specialized medical care, or simply visiting family in the next town over would become a major undertaking. The convenience of jumping in a car to go anywhere, anytime, would be gone. This could lead to a significant divide between well-connected urban centers and remote, self-sufficient rural communities. Long-distance travel in general would be slower and more expensive, making the world feel much larger and less connected. Now, let's talk about the economy. The automotive industry is a global behemoth, employing tens of millions of people directly and indirectly, from factory workers and engineers to mechanics and car salespeople. Without cars, all of those jobs would simply not exist. Companies like Ford, Toyota, Volkswagen, and Tesla would never have been founded. The entire 20th century of technological innovation would have followed a completely different path. And what about oil? The world's insatiable thirst for oil is driven in large part by our cars. Without them, the demand for petroleum would be a fraction of what it is today. The global economy, which has been so heavily shaped by the oil industry and the politics of oil-rich nations, would be unrecognizable. Countries in the Middle East might not hold the same geopolitical power, and the global balance of economic influence would be completely different. Entire new industries would have risen to take the place of the automotive sector, perhaps focused on advanced train technology, electric bicycles, or other forms of personal mobility we can't even imagine. Beyond the practical changes, our culture would be fundamentally different. The car isn't just a machine, it's a symbol of freedom, independence, and adventure. Think of all the movies centered around cars. No Fast and Furious, no Mad Max, no Bullet. The iconic road trip narrative, a cornerstone of literature and film, would be absent from our collective consciousness. The thrill of getting your first driver's license, a rite of passage for so many teenagers, wouldn't exist. Music would be different too. No classic rock anthems about cruising down the highway with the windows down. This lack of personal mobility might also reshape our social structures. Would we have stronger, more tight-knit local communities? If travel is difficult, people are more likely to invest their time and energy in their immediate surroundings. Your neighbors would become a more central part of your social life, and local events would be the main source of entertainment. On the one hand, this could lead to a greater sense of belonging and community spirit. On the other hand, it could also foster a more insular, less diverse worldview, as people would have fewer opportunities to interact with those from different backgrounds and places. The freedom to just get in a car and drive, to escape, to explore, to reinvent yourself in a new place, that powerful sense of individual liberty would be greatly diminished. So, as we pull into the station at the end of our journey, we're left with a fascinating question. A world without cars presents a trade-off. We'd gain cleaner air, safer and more people-friendly cities, and perhaps stronger communities. But we'd lose an incredible amount of personal freedom, economic activity, and the global connectivity we often take for granted. It would be a slower, quieter, and more localized world. Would life actually be better or worse? It's a tough call, and the answer probably depends on what you value most. What do you think? Would you trade your car for a cleaner, quieter world? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you all think about this. And if you enjoyed exploring this alternate reality, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We post new what-if scenarios every week, and you won't want to miss where we're headed next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.